What's going on, everyone? It's another edition of the PlayBack Gaming Podcast, and today we're actually going to be talking about a couple of things we have going on. But before we get into all of that, I do want to introduce one of my, I call him one of my closest friends, one of my brothers in this industry as far as website designing. Whenever we're trying to break into the gaming media. And he is somebody who I actually look up to, and the aspect that he has a dream and he has been able to accomplish so much. And Cal, how you been, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm hanging in there. I appreciate the intro and the sentiment. I truly do. It's very humbling, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I can come in and voice my opinion on a few things tonight. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. And of course, Cal, he is the head honcho over at the Tick. It's a website. It's now called Tick Games Network. Is that correct?
Correct. Tick Game Network. And we've had the change for a number of reasons, but yeah, Tick Games Network.
Awesome. And if you haven't seen the new format, I was actually gushing over it the other day. I was telling them that I love how the new format looks. It's nice, it's clean, it's sleek. Of course, all of the content that you're looking for, and actually some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about, some of our citations are going to be coming from over there. So if you're looking for probably one of the up and coming, and also I wouldn't even describe it as an up and coming. I would say that this is more of a established as an up and coming. It's a good figure, a nice polarizing figure that we have here in the media. And unfortunately, I don't have the same kind of intros that Lord Cognito does. But, I try to do my best and everything. And also on the side from just Tick, you also do you do have a new YouTube channel. What's that all about?
The Last Son of Planet Xbox is sort of a concentrated show, sort of on Xbox, trying to take a deep dive look into things, different aspects, instead of sort of, with Tick Podcasts, we kind of go through topics and we try to get everyone's opinions. With The Last Son, I try to dive deeper into the meaning of certain things and sort of give people behind the scenes looks and conversations that I have with the executive at Xbox. So it's definitely more of a deep dive into what's happening with Xbox and gaming compared to Tick Podcasts.
Awesome. So if you haven't been over to either that or over to the
Last Son Network,
or the Tick YouTube, make sure you do go to both of those, subscribe. They're actually very entertaining to watch, and especially this day and age, whenever you look at a lot of the thing that I do really like is how you're able to look at all angles of a situation, even though you do have a love for Xbox and you want to see it succeed. You don't let that overstep the boundaries and the fact that you just, as a fanboy would, which, definitely in this day and age is definitely very appreciative to be able to see some stuff like that. So,
yeah, no, you can't be blind and one-sided to the reality and logical situations that's presented in front of you. Don't get me wrong. What I try to do is I try to be as positive as possible. There's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel in my perspective, but I also try to be realistic about what's being presented and how it's being presented and how I think it would affect other gamers in that regard. So I always try to be honest, but I also try to be positive.
Absolutely. And also joining us today, we have my good friend, Mr. Lord Sleep Zero. Actually, it's just Lord Zero now, isn't it?
Yes.
I still say official. The official. I still say sleep because it's so used to just jumping in the party, like, ew, it's sleep, slut. You just kick back and forth with that and everything. Yeah. How you been, man? Tell us about your experience over in Japan, because I know that you had been over there, quite some, couple of times.
I got dizzy putting my information out there like that. No. Tokyo was a lot of fun, man. It was pretty chill. The people there are way nicer. Not to be an ass, but it was a lot of fun, man.
I see that. I see a lot of things where they do talk about the Japanese culture whenever you're over there, like how polite everybody is. And as an American, I'm not surprised. We're rude to each other. I mean, we're ready to fight with neighbors.
Right, right. No, you're not wrong. It was fun though, man. It was cool. Had a good friend of mine, Yua, pretty much just take me around town and show me some cool shit. So it was fun. I've been good otherwise
Awesome,
though.
awesome. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get into some of these topics today. Actually, the very first thing that we're going to be talking about, Reaper should be joining us here in a little while. I know that he's having a little bit of issues with his computer, but he'll have that up and running here in a little bit. Very first thing, and he's probably going to be thankful that he's missing this first part of the segment is, of course, we can't go a whole podcast without talking about ARK. Somebody at some point has to mention ARK, but this time there's actually ARK news. So I don't know if you all are familiar with that. For about a week, they were running a countdown. And, of course, right now, everybody has been waiting on the release for Extinction. Of course, we'll get to that here in a bit. But everybody was really waiting for this Extinction. And the countdown itself, it actually was going towards the Friday that would have been ending. The most recent Friday, that would have been at the end of the week of E3. So we already knew that Studio Wildcard was not going to be at E3. They were actually, that's one of the very few things that they've been saying. And over the last few months, for a vocal, yes, Attic, we are talking about ARK already. Absolutely. For this kind of studio, they're typically vocal. And they're normally getting themselves into trouble for spewing out at the mouth about things that they're talking about doing, but then they don't end up doing, or things that they say that they're not going to do, and they do it anyways. So they have a big foot and mouth syndrome. So when we get to this countdown, of course, we know now they're not at E3. Everybody's really anticipating. Whenever they announced Scorched Earth, at the end of the countdown, we were told that, hey, you're going to get this DLC called Scorched Earth, and guess what? It releases today. So I think that a lot of people had a lot of high hopes that, hey, Extinction is going to be released at the end of this. Turns out this was a countdown for skins. And boy, oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah, skins. You could run around the island and go dig up little dino graveyards and get bones and put together skins. That's essentially it. And they had a couple of other things that were in there, like you had bionic Rexes, which they had skins already for turning your T-Rexes to look mechanical. But what they ended up doing is this is actually a mechanical T-Rex that's walking around, and they're actually a little bit stronger than your normal T-Rexes from what I hear. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's a couple of other little hidden gems that people are still kind of like data mining out of that. But all in all, at the end of this, the end of this countdown, skins. Man, did they not hear the end of this? Given their track record, how is this a smart thing?
I don't know, man. When I watched that countdown today, I'm already lost as it is because I haven't been really following ARK. I've sort of abandoned ARK, and it was necessary for myself.
Well, but think about this countdown that we watched, Cal. This countdown was a completely separate one. As soon as that countdown ended, we got another countdown.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Well, of course, we'll get to this one here in a bit. Yeah, absolutely. How do they get away with this? It's still mind blowing to me.
I think what happens is you have when you get a large audience, when you capture such a large audience, it's kind of easy to manipulate situations and get away with things because people have already invested so much time and money into something that they don't plan to abandon it unless they really completely are just stressed out of their minds and just quit. And that's very difficult to do after spending probably from hundreds to thousands of dollars on servers and who knows what else people invested in the game. So it's kind of sucks because they definitely are up and coming studio and they seem to have really hit the mother lode on their first shot. But long term, this can't be good for any other future franchises that they develop besides ARK. going forward, it doesn't leave a positive or a good taste in people's mouths.
You know, it's crazy how that they're able to let that slide by. Because I mean, let's be honest. Cliffy, you know, let's take Lawbreakers for instance. You know, something very simple. Hey, we're going to have a PS4 exclusive. It starts off as something that simple. Gamers don't let that thing go. This, you know how I feel about Peter Molyneux. So I feel like the studio wildcard for the most part it's ran by Peter Molyneux at this point, where you get your expectations so high and you're just let down time after time after time. So the week goes by and we find out there's, you know, beforehand there was like, oh, well, maybe there's like a cross promotion with the Jurassic World movie coming out, or the Jurassic Park Evolution game just came out. Maybe there's a cross promotion there. None of that, you know, and I think a lot of that has to come with Monster Hunter and their cross promotions that they have going with everybody.
Right.
So none of that ends up happening. We get another fucking countdown, right? Sure enough, we're like, this has to be it. And sure enough, it does look like today they did reveal Extinction. What did you think about that? I know, did both of y'all get to see that?
I will say that when I saw it, I found it very cool. You know, I'm all about sci-fi stuff. That's one of my favorite genres in gaming. I prefer futuristic sci-fi things. So seeing a little, you know, crawling bot run around and teleport was instantly like, oh my God, that looks awesome. But at the same time, I always go back to just playing that game and thinking about my life and how much I dedicated, much of my life I dedicated to ARK, and how I don't want to go back to that. That is just a painful existence. You know, at the time it wasn't. At the time it was absolutely fun. But when I look back at how many games that I didn't play over the course of a year because of ARK, it just wasn't a good existence.
What about you, Zero? Did you get a chance to check out the little teaser trailer that they had?
Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was cool. I like Cal. I myself like sci-fi stuff too. And you know, for a while I've been clamoring for something like more alien-y. Not exactly, maybe not like gray aliens or anything. That's the stereotypical stuff, but something out of the ordinary. So at the end of the trailer, when that big ass monster popped up, I was excited about that. That looked cool to me. I'm down for that. I'm down for little robots and everything. And then the release date killed it.
Oh man, the release date. Oh, don't get me started. I will have to say I agree with you. I think that the coolest thing is when your guy the guy is just sitting there, he's like shaking his directional meter. He's trying to find out what the hell's going on, and then all of a sudden you hear these large ass footsteps. So much to the point that you have a fucking T-Rex that starts backing up like, oh shit.
Yeah,
and
right.
You look up and you see this big monstrous thing, you know, just standing over top and everything. That was probably the coolest thing that, you know, that I've seen them actually introduce. So, but yeah, that's actually what it, you know, I was like, maybe I'll give them a pass if this is Extinction, right? And of course, I was going into this like, yeah, I'm about to give them a pass, and then they dropped November 6th. What in your right mind thinks that is a smart decision? You're talking about a week after Red Dead Redemption 2. Nobody's thinking about you at this point.
Yeah, I was just going to say
Red Dead Redemption 2. And what comes out the following week? Probably the dagger into your crown in the genre with Fallout. Exactly. I know the following week, I already got my pre-order set. So... I just don't get what the mindset is. Now, there's actually a couple of things that I do enjoy about what they have going on with this DLC that, you know, others might not know. One of my favorite development teams right now is a team called Dragon Punk, and I know that I clamor about these guys all the time. I'm always gushing about them. They do very talented work. They actually put together a little bit of a demo where they wanted to do Shadowrun for Microsoft. Unfortunately, they can't get past the middleman right now. You know, they're not big enough that they can get past the middleman. But they ended up turning that demo into a ARK mod, and now they're doing a whole bunch of work. And they actually had a lot to do with the DLC with Extinction. They were actually working with Studio Wildcard, which is actually pretty cool. So I am glad to see that. But this also does go into the matter of what studio Wildcard is actually working on now. And of course, we know that Snail Games is already trying to push for the sequel for ARK, on top of all of the other games that they have coming out, which are nothing but ARK ripoffs. But
Right.
I guess we'll see what exactly will be going on with ARK. Are y'all going to be playing this at all?
Nope.
I can't bring myself to, man. This is just terrible
As
release
much,
date.
as much as I want to, if this was something that was like releasing in a month, 2 months, before October hits, maybe even the beginning of October, I might think about it. But I just can't. In that time frame, you're releasing a week after Dragon Ball, Red Dead. You're releasing a week before Fallout. The week after that is Pokemon. Like, I mean, you signed your own death certificate with that. The decision of that. Whoever signed off on that, they need to be fired.
Just off the top of my head, I'm going to be playing Code Vein, Tomb Raider, Spyro. That's not even including Fallout if I decide to get it. There's so much stuff coming out.
Right.
I'm not going to care.
I do want to kind of touch on something that you just said that I questioned the same thing. Like, who is making the decisions on these release dates? Crackdown's coming out in February. I don't know why Crackdown wants to come out in February. As soon as I found out that Anthem and half of the greatest games of all time is releasing in February, I would not want to release in that. I would immediately move my game 2 months down. Like, seriously, I get it. You're right. You put this game out there. It's already been delayed multiple times. At this point, who really cares if it gets delayed a few more months? Like, Like, we already don't care enough for the game as it is. Just delay it 2 more months and let it release by itself. It's gonna get killed. Game Pass is gonna can only save that game so much. It's really gonna get ignored by a lot of other games. At least that's how I feel anyway.
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%. As soon as I saw that they gave the release date and knowing everything that's releasing that exact day, I was like, don't do it to yourself. Delay it. There's no shame in it. You've already delayed enough. There's no shame at this point. And of all months, since when has February been the month of releasing?
Yeah, I don't know either. Most of the time it comes out around, most big games come out in March, in April, like around that mid-quarter spring area, not early winter. You know what I'm saying? Like late winter, excuse me. So that's just weird that February is such a prominent month for so many games.
Yeah, that was the one to think that I just had to think to myself. I was like, who was the one that said that February all of a sudden? Because you're right. Just off the top of my head, Battlefield out of all the games actually used to be a March release. Titanfall. Was typically a March release until they, the first one was a March release. Several games, March, because they're trying to get at the end of the quarter, the beginning of the next quarter,
right?
Which makes sense and everything, business perspective. February. Whoever's coming up with these release dates and everything.
Back in the day, we used to have like these summer blockbusters. Like the summer has faded away as a place to put games. I guess because they figure everyone's on vacation, no one's home to play. So the summertime sort of falling off. The fall, November mostly, October, November usually fits perfectly because you have the holiday season, you got Black Friday, you have all types of deals or bundles, and that makes sense. Spring is the time normally when you kind of release games where you're not in a space where football exists. You're not in a space where a new, basketball game is dropping, a new football game is dropping. I think NHL is close to around that time, but even then, it's not as big as it used to be and by today's standards. So normally around March, April, you sort of can get away with some things. Like you've seen Sony drop Uncharted. You've seen Xbox drop Sea of Thieves and follow that up with State of Decay. Nintendo has come out with a few titles recently as well. So that space seems good. But for some apparent reason, February just seems like the month everybody wants to put stuff in it. I don't know if they think everybody's going to fall in love with their games because it's like the Valentine's Day month or whatever. But they're going to be in for a rude awakening, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. It is definitely going to be a tough month for a lot of games.
Anyway, I guess what is most nutty about the whole situation is not only just February 22nd in general is like, did they draw this number out of a hat? Did they think that like, hey, February 22nd, that looks like a date that nothing else is going to release, and then now everything is releasing on the 22nd. It's just crazy to me. Absolutely, yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you what, my birthday's in February. I got some birthday presents to ask for.
You know, I guess pre-orders for Valentine's Day, late pre-orders. I don't know. It's still mind-boggling.
ARK should release their content in September. I always feel like September, August and September are great months to release games because you're just far enough away where you could drop a game like a heavy hitter or a big title for your platform or your publishing department for your publisher and get enough success out of that particular title for the month before the following big titles come out, because then it's just a competition at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So I don't know, man. They should. If I was them, you're only competing at that point in September really with Forza Horizon, and that's an exclusive title. So you have so much leeway with PlayStation and PC. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you get to jump on the wallet, which is nice and everything. Like last year, they were able to get away with it because they released the game, and so they released the DLC pretty much alongside the game, in a manner of speaking. So that's what worked for them then. This is a DLC that you're literally going a whole year later, and not only that. Last year, games released, but there wasn't that game that everybody's like, that's the game, kind of thing. This year, man, it's loaded. Loaded.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of big titles coming out. I don't know what they're thinking over that wild card. I don't know.
I don't get a paycheck for them. Somebody needs to be fired.
I think the problem is they're not thinking.
Oh, have they ever?
That's the issue.
You know what it is?
Sometimes.
I think they bank a lot of their finances on PC. The PC crowd, they look at it from that perspective, and the PC crowd. I don't know if some of these big titles are coming out for PC. I don't know if Red Dead is coming out for PC, if it's coming out for other of all these other games is also releasing on PC. So that sort of gives the PC crowd some incentive when it comes.
That's true. That's very true. Red Dead is not going to be on PC, so that much we know.
We're thinking from a console perspective, but for them, it could just be from that platform and that audience perspective, because PC is big for them.
Right.
Yeah, what works in their advantage, they're still the kings right now. Literally on the market, you have Rust, which is only on PC, which is competing against them. Conan, which has released. How are you enjoying Conan, by the way?
I haven't played it.
You haven't?
Conan, no, Conan is fantastic. Here's my only gripe with Conan is that they've had a rough start. I didn't like Conan in the beginning because, one, when I first started playing the game, I was on this thing called a PvE conflict server. They didn't have enough PvP servers, and they had less people on PvE servers. So they changed all the PvE conflict servers to straight PvP servers, which I just felt completely pissed off about, because I've literally established a base. I'm already like level 15, and you've completely changed the dynamic of the way I was about to play this game. So I abandoned that server, and I get ready to abandon it completely. I get convinced to play again, and I jump in. I pick a PvE server. We hop in, and everything is going well. But then again, just like early ARK, you have the issues of lagging out of games, disappearing and coming back and not having your body be there, missing items, stuff disappearing out of your chest, just a lot of nonsense. Now, the good thing is they've been able to address some of those things fairly quickly. The game seems more stable, and it's enjoyable and fun in that it's not as tedious as ARK and what you need to build things and craft as well as repair things. It's not as tedious, and you have to get this or you have to have that. A lot of the things is just right outside your door. Run outside, grab it, you're good to go. And you're able to stack enough stuff where things aren't too costly. I think the coolest thing about it is the thrall aspect of being able to capture these thralls that come in tiers, and based on their tiers, they bring a level of either development or power, depending on what type of thrall you get. So you have different thralls. You have guys that attack, that are just fighters, and then you have guys that actually have skills, crafting, people who make armor, people who make leather, people who do the furnace. And each one, as you go up in level, either makes the time for things to cook slower, shorter, and the resources you use less. So at a tier 4, something that would have been like, let's say, 10 metal to build will only cost you like 5 metal. And instead of it taking 10 minutes, it takes you like 3 minutes. And that's huge. It's a huge difference in resources.
That's less grind. Less grind, more materials that you would get out of that. Absolutely. I will say, I think that the one advantage I do like that they have on there, probably the most prominent, is just the building aspect. I mean, the building pieces you have, and all, as well as just the way that they look, the cosmetics you can put on there, it makes it have a sense. They immerses you so that you can feel like part of the world. Whereas, unfortunately, the building part and the technology is great in ARK, but there's not a lot that they put in there to immerse you in there, unless you're playing on PC with mods and everything. And of course, then you have that. So we got Conan. Conan is pretty much the only one that's on the market. But like we mentioned, Fallout 76, it comes out right after that, and there's no telling how that's going to go. Bethesda could easily come through and snatch that crown. But even aside from that, is the development team that started it all off with DayZ, is they're developing a game called Vigor. And of course, that's going to be coming out, which I like the aspect of that, where you're pretty much in your safe zone. You go into the dark zone, kind of like in The Division, where PvP takes place. This is where you go collect the resources. You got to get in, get out without getting killed and getting robbed, which I think that's pretty much a brilliant aspect that they're putting on the spin of the game. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough for Studio Wildcard and ARK going forward, especially given that date.
Not to be that guy, but you said the development team behind DayZ, and that made me immediately worried.
Okay, look. The team that started it all with DayZ, because we know that a lot of this is actually a lot of spinoff from what DayZ. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for DayZ, probably a lot of this and a lot of the battle royale genre would not be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I'm not taking that away from it, but
yes. I get your point. But I'm just saying, if it wasn't for this team and what they did with DayZ in general, we wouldn't have the survival genre that we have, and we would not have the battle royale the way that it is. So you have to at least give him the hats off, even if the guy who created DayZ, if he might be a complete dickhead based off of his statements, and I'll say that twice. He is a dickhead. At least they did something nice. Even if it is oversaturating the market right now. So
I think the Vigor game is just different enough that it can appeal. The aspect of being able to have this Royal Rumble type, aspect where everybody is sort of fighting to stay alive, and then you also are in a persistent world of survival. Exactly. I just thought that was dope. Like, you're just on this server trying to survive, and you're building a base, and you're building a camp. You're trying to get resources, and it's every man for themselves. That's really intense, and I can see that being something pretty cool. Even if you teamed up with somebody as a let's call a truce, and we just build this base together and get resources together. I can see that happening a lot. That would be pretty. Awesome.
Yeah. So of course, both of those.
I remember. Mm-hmm. Do y'all remember back when Wildcard did Survival of the Fittest? That was such a cool ass thing.
And that's the craziest thing. And they completely abandoned it. Well, it started off as a mod, and then they were going to support it. And this is even before PUBG gets onto the market. This is, at the beginning stages of H1Z1, which this is why, like, whenever I look at the studio, and I think that we're pretty much really going in on Studio Wildcard at this point, but how you let that slip through your fingers the way that you did that, like, it is so mind-boggling. and knowing how many people enjoyed that. But you're like, oh, I get it. You had to get the game done and everything, and so you kind of had to split your team. But you had so many teams that were working on, you know, a plethora of other things. Somewhere, somebody should have still been working on that to make sure that that was getting included as part of the game. It's so much to the point now that there's other modders. Like, again, you know, going back to Dragon Punk, you know, they have pretty much what is Survival of the Fittest 2.0, and it looks so much better than the Survival of the Fittest, but we don't even have the base in there that we can't add this on top of it. So it's, they just let it, I don't know.
It's a shame too, man, because it was watched. People liked it. They did tournaments.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge smashing hit, but
yeah, it was like, I mean, people were still winning $100,000 from a game they hadn't released. Like, where did they do that at? What? That's crazy. But yeah, I think that we're done torturing Addict in the chat over here with all of this ARK talk and everything. So, Switch. Okay. So probably his second favorite topic, you know, moving right along. So the Switch, 2 million downloads, very first day for Fortnite. Who saw that coming?
Fortnite's dying.
I feel like
Fortnite.
I mean, you know what? I think it sounds about right. It's there's no true competitive shooters for Fortnite to have competition with on the Switch.
Right.
Like, if you really look at it, there is no competitive shooters for the Switch. So Fortnite coming on there and getting 2 million downloads makes absolute sense. It's free, it's popular. It doesn't take a lot for the game to work on the Switch because it's not a graphically intensive game. That makes complete sense. I can see that. I don't really, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised it's not more. I'm surprised it wasn't like 3 or 4 million.
Right. Yeah.
Considering how many Switches is out there currently. So, yeah.
Like, probably the closest competitor they would have had to it was Splatoon 2. I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, the closest thing to it.
Right.
Right.
And you have to buy that.
Identical. But here's the kicker. So if you're a PlayStation owner and you went to go play your Switch and drag your Epic account over, how successful were you?
Well, apparently you're not successful at all. It's one of PlayStation's problems as of right now.
Man,
I've been seeing a lot. The funny thing about this is that I've been seeing a lot of people on the PlayStation side defend these policies that Sony has been implementing or have been sort of being combative against. And you know, I remember the time when Microsoft was like that, and they're like, "Well, Microsoft did it." It's like, okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, and here's the reason why. Because I don't damage control ever. Okay, this is going to be the very first time you're ever going to hear me damage control. And so let's do a little bit of a history lesson of exactly why that is that Microsoft decided to do what they did. So throughout the entire console generation of PS3 and 360. You can't, it's hard pressed to find a headline where it's asking you about crossplay, because really the only games at this time that were doing crossplay, which ironically in the very beginning of that console generation, Final Fantasy 11, you were allowed to play Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3 all together. You were able to do that. It eventually, I do believe that they did have to. They pretty much put a bar in there, and we'll get to that here in a moment. There were games that were able to do console to PC, Shadowrun being one of them, among others. So about the time that this really actually gets into the controversy, there's a game that comes out. It's called Defiance, a game being made by Trion Studios. And Trion, they went out onto social media. They were speaking to everybody saying, hey, behind closed doors, we have a 360 and a PS3 linked up together, and they're playing in harmony. Everything sounds great. And so everybody's asking, well, why can't we do this? And this is where the first press for crossplay really comes in whenever it comes to the consoles. About this time, what is going on also with Sony?
They were getting hacked.
So I'm not, the smartest. I won't claim myself to be the smartest businessman. I don't believe that I'm the brightest crown in the box or the, sharpest tool in the shed.
Right.
But that just does not sound like something that I would want to do if you know that, hey, they're losing credit card information through their network, and they want to link their network with our network that's a secured network. And you know what? One of the other stipulations that Sony was requesting in order for this to also go forward?
What's that?
I had to go back and make sure that I read the articles properly. And of course, I believe I had 2 from GameSpot and then 1 from Giant Bomb. They were requesting that Xbox Live stops charging. Of course,
yeah, no, it was gonna happen. Yeah.
So these are the reasons why Microsoft is saying no. It's not because they're saying, hey, we don't want you guys to play together. So, and again, it's funny that you had mentioned that, because now we go to recently, was it today or yesterday, a former Sony boss was actually talking about the reasoning that they were putting that when he was working there, and that came down to not due to network issues or anything like that, but it all came down to money.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just
it's funny.
Not surprising.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, I was just gonna say that it's funny because when you look at the thing that kills me the most is when guys are like, well, Sony's not the one desperate to have people. Like, there's so many people online for PlayStation gamers to play with. Well, I beg to differ, sir. Okay, you do play player games all day long. You try, you know what I'm saying? It's very hard to find competitive people on the PlayStation. So for me, Xbox doesn't have a problem when it comes to multiplayer. Even games that people consider might not have an install base still have an install base. And that just goes to show you that, there are people out there that still play these games online.
It's a quick LFG away.
Yeah, like it's so easy. But my point is that at some point you got to be able to move past that. I always say that when people use that, I look at it from the perspective of, you want to blame Microsoft for what they did in the past. You also have to contemplate that the leadership had a lot to do with that. Whoever was the CEO, whoever was in charge of Xbox, whoever was leading those divisions, made those decisions. You have new leadership that are now changing that narrative. It's the same thing with the studios. People are like, oh, well, don't get canceled. And, Microsoft doesn't do well with all these other studios. Well, you have to look at the old leadership and what they were trying to do and look at what this leadership is doing now. They're not trying to put a wrap on these studios. They're giving them the freedom and giving them the, the financial backing to create what they want to create, which is going to be a big success for them long term. So I just feel like, Sony needs to stop playing games. Obviously, the fanboys are going to fanboy. That's what fanboys do.
Exactly.
But if you really want to push the industry forward, because at the end of the day, I think in about 20, 25 years, this whole industry is just going to be one system. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who's going to be leading it, how it's going to work, but I really feel like we're heading in that direction where you just have people that are publishers and you just pick what you want and play on one particular platform or through one internet service. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens going forward, because you can see it heading in that direction. But Sony needs to play ball, I think, and stop trying to be the bully in the room.
Oh yeah, I mean, my biggest issue with this stuff is, did both of y'all see that I don't know what to say, but what Sony said to the whole accusations and everything about how they have 80 million players, they don't need to worry about crossplay or none of that stuff. That's such an asshole and anti-consumer thing to say.
Right.
And people were okay with that. And that bothers me. Like, that's not okay for any company. I don't care if Microsoft would have done it, if Nintendo would have done it. That's not what you want your company to say, especially if they're leading the industry. That's not good.
You know what's funny about that? The funny thing about that, when you just said that just now, it reminded me of like situations where people always say, don't make this policy or don't make this law, let the people decide. And I feel like that's just a terrible way to do that, because people are evil. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the root of people like, seriously, like, people make bad choices and bad decisions thinking it's the right choice. So a lot of times having things and decisions made for them just streamlines things and makes things a lot easier. If the majority obviously disagree, then yeah, you make your policy changes, but never leave it in the hands of the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate to sound like I'm some type of tyrant or something like that, but you just can't leave
play
it
by
in the
our
hands
rules
of
or
people.
else.
Yeah, like when you leave it in the hands of people, bro, something bad always happens. It's always something negative that happens because of that. I don't know why. Just people just always think of like twisted and conniving ways to do things, and it just always messes things up.
Do you think that this is going to be something that comes to a resolution within maybe, say, a year, 2 years?
I think if the pressure stays on them, it will be. I don't think they have much choice. I'm already seeing.
Nintendo's starting to crack at it. You don't let Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't even have a true internet service. You can't let them make these shots at you.
I think the biggest thing is that you're starting to see people make threats to PlayStation about joining Xbox. I haven't seen that not one time. This
Greg
whole
Miller,
generation. Yeah.
Did you see Greg Miller actually went over and got him a new Fortnite account? He was actually talking about it on his last podcast or his last show.
Oh yeah.
Where he got another Fortnite account and he went in on Sony. And it's crazy whenever you see a lot of the influencers are actually very anti the stance that Sony is taking, and they don't understand it. And, you know, I've seen a lot of interviews that they've had Phil on, and they asked, I know with Giant Bomb, he's like, you're trying to get me in trouble here. You know, essentially it boils down to, you know, with their perspective, it's like at some point you have to realize that we have to look at this as gaming. Business decisions have to be made on both sides and everything. Will we like it? Yes, of course. But they have to be made on both sides of the fence and everything. So the only thing that they can do, you know, is just keep pressing forward. So I'll be honest, I do believe I believe 100% exactly what you're saying is right, Cal, is keep the pressure up. One of the things I'm hoping is that there's more games that, as they keep coming out, crossplay between Xbox and Switch, which I think that's a beautiful connection right there. Like, I mean, who would have thought that? I would have thought that Nintendo and PlayStation would have had a connection before Microsoft and Nintendo.
Now, let me ask y'all, do you think that the main reason why this blew up so much is because of the crossplay inherently, or because people found out of the blue that Sony is denying them access to a third-party account? Because I feel like that has a lot to do with it as well. Because that's your account with a third-party gaming. I mean,
yes, I think that was the tipping scale, but I also think that it has to do that this is three of the largest games, mind you, three of the largest games in a row that this issue has came up. The first time it came up with Rocket League, the second time it comes up with Minecraft, and now it's coming up with Fortnite. Those are three of the largest multiplayer games on the market right now today. Three in a row.
Listen, Microsoft is building good faith with people. You have, listen, you know what's crazy and what I like about what Microsoft has done? It's they've been, it's where, I don't know how, I'm going to try to put this in a way where you guys can kind of comprehend or understand what I'm trying to get at. So Microsoft has been beaten, prodded, talked about, stomped on all this generation. And very slowly, they've been sort of putting a Band-Aid here, stitching this up here, putting that there, but they've never been knocked out. And the crowd has been rooting for the guy that's been beating on them. But very slowly, the crowd is starting to look at what this guy is doing to get himself off the ground. And they really start to like it. Like, they really starting to see this guy is a champ. Like, this guy's a champion. He's not being knocked out. And you got this person over here that is starting to get a little bit arrogant because he keeps beating on this one person. And that's how I feel. I feel like Microsoft has been implementing these policies, whether it is allowing the crossplay, the backwards compatibility, the forward compatibility, the new hardware. Now you're talking about adding the new studios. You're already talking about Scarlet, which is going to be a benchmark console, bringing your games with you no matter what platform you have, as long as you have an account. A streaming service that's coming in the future for anything, being able to play games between Xbox and PC, play anywhere. Like, after a while, all those things start to add up. And when the person that doesn't have those things start to get real arrogant, and the people start realizing, you know what? Why am I here? Besides the games, what are they offering me? This should be a reason why I get this. And when that other platform starts to get those quality titles that everybody says they don't have, quote unquote, you really start to question, okay, I need to jump over here because not only do they have quality titles like this guy, but they got this, and this. And that list gets really long when you start to look at it. And it really starts to change the perception. And I think that's what's happening. Greg Miller's like, dude, like, I'm really thinking about getting an Xbox account because this is what Xbox is offering. I've seen people say, yo, I'm going to get an Xbox because I just don't see Sony doing, backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 5 or being able to bring my games over on the PlayStation 5. Like, I really feel Microsoft
that's actually
do that.
That's one thing that I was actually thinking about is so what are the chances that they don't offer that kind of backwards compatibility whenever the PS5 does drop?
Oh my Lord.
Nah, I think they will. I think they have to.
I feel like that they have to.
Yeah, they have to.
I mean, especially now that we've gone digital, and we know that, I know that everybody keeps talking about the next generation Xbox, but I still feel that it's not necessarily, we're not looking at generational jumps, because I mean the graphical fidelity is not going to be vastly improved between this generation. We're not going to go from this to 8K gaming the next console cycle, right?
Right.
So again, I still feel like that this is just exactly what they said. This is just like whenever a mobile device, it upgrades, every couple of years. This is what the next step should be, because they've always talked about, well, now they've been talking about everything that you have now. We want you to be able to take that with you, which of course, I mean, how that's, not the best thing that could be offered to you, as far as a consumer standpoint, I don't know what is. So I can't fathom the thought that Sony will allow somebody to lose their entire digital download library.
Yeah.
Like, they would have to.
I mean, you got to think about Microsoft. If everyone says that Sony is great with their hardware and they're good with their first party, Microsoft are wizards at software, wizards at operating systems. You think about the virtual machines that they have on their platform, the Xbox, the hypervisor. There's 3 layers to that. The 360 OS is basically an emulator. It's going to be easy to do the same thing for the Xbox One X going forward. It'll just be an emulation of what you have on the Xbox One with the next platform. So it's not a hardware side thing where you actually have to put something in the box to make it work. Why hasn't Sony been able to implement this software situation into the PS4 already? So it tells you something about what they wanted to do structurally with their platform, which means the next PlayStation that comes out, they can't do nothing significantly too different.
In a way, they do have that technology, and it is something that really is already implemented. It just comes in the form of what they like to call PS Now,
right?
In which you got to pay for all of that.
Which I heard that they plan to now allow you to download. So it looks like I'm going to be buying a PS controller for my PC.
Right?
Oh, right.
Right. And I know it wasn't too long ago where they had been talking about making sure that it was installed into their TVs and everything, and then that kind of like died out. I can't remember if they said that they decided to go against that or if they're still planning on that, but that was also, part of the talks that they had as well, which, I mean, with the way the smart TVs are going these days, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Yeah. So any more?
Actually, that whole thing kind of just fizzled out, didn't it? About the whole smart TV.
Yeah. Huh. It did. I remember it very vividly. It was supposed to be them, Samsung, and I want to say LG.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, but is that anything new? Like, let's keep it real. Like, is that
It
new?
really isn't.
It's not something that it's like Sony to do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Hell, they had during the PS3 era, they had DVD players, Blu-ray DVD players that looked just like PS3s, just didn't play PS3 games.
Oh yeah.
It made no damn sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know that there was some mad parent that thought that they bought a PS3. It was just a Blu-ray player. That was one mad kid at Christmas.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
My stepdad actually bought one of those Blu-ray players. I don't know why.
Let's play some Killzone, son.
That's hilarious.
Well, no, he didn't play video games. I don't know why he bought it, but whatever.
So there also at E3 this year, there was another game that, whenever I first saw it, at first I didn't catch exactly what was going on, but by the time they showed the second character, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And then they show another character. I was like, hey, wait, hold on, he doesn't. And then they show another character. I'm like, wait, hold on a second, something is not right here. It was cool. Mm-hmm. They had the Avengers mashup. All of these people from different walks of anime life,
right,
just mashed up into one amazing looking fighting game. Which and I'm not, I don't really get into the fighting games. Ask Zero over here. He's always gushing about these things, and we're just like, I mean, we'll watch. It's cool. Like, we like the concept of it. It's just not what I do.
I feel like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It wasn't until the very end of it that I said, I'm buying this. I'm buying this. And that was once I got to peep my little eyesight on Mr. Light and Ryuk. And of course, so we'll get into that here in a second. So what did y'all think when you first saw it?
I mean, when I tell you right now, I was already excited because Microsoft had already put Tales of Vesperia up, which I was just like, oh my god,
right.
Tales of Vesperia is come. They got a Tales game back on Xbox. Actually, the original exclusive, and I never got a chance to beat because I wound up getting a save, and I was stuck at a point right before the boss. I had no saves to get out of that battle, and I didn't have what I needed mission wise for my character, so I would lose every fight. It was very frustrating, and I wound up just trading the game in, so I never beat the game. So I'm excited to get it this holiday, but. What was really cool was when I first saw it, I was sitting here saying to myself, it came on and I was like, oh, they got something from Bandai Namco. That's pretty cool. And then I saw Luffy ship. And I was like, oh, they got when I saw Luffy ship, the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh, they got a One Piece game. That's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, they got a One Piece game. I didn't really think it was that special because I've seen the other One Piece games and they were all right. And then they went to Frieza's ship, and that's when it clicked. That's when it clicked for me, like Krillin dying in front of Goku. Like, it was just like, boom, Super Saiyan mode. And I was like, oh, my God. Do they have a J All-Stars coming to Xbox? Are you serious right now? And as the characters start coming out, it was crazy because the whole time I'm thinking this is just the animated CGI cutscene. Nah, man, this was the actual and my jaw was on the floor, bro. I was completely in awe of what I was seeing. And after watching videos of it, they just have everything. Like, they have all the moves, all the attacks. I thought it was going to be like some semi-type game where they got a couple attacks here and there. Nah, they got them all. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. It is a day one buy for me. I'm really excited about it.
Right.
Oh, boy.
In Zero, I know that you... I know that I had to tell him repeatedly, "Hey, you need to put your pants back on, sir."
I have been over here grinning like the goddamn Cheshire Cat. Let me tell you, it has been a very long time since I've seen a game pop up at E3 that actually made me giddy with excitement. Mm-hmm. And Dizzy has been in parties with me during Destiny streams, Destiny reveals, ARK reveals, other E3 shows, and I have never lost my shit. But I lost my shit. Because we were sitting there.
It is true.
And the Kage faces went by. And at first I was like, because I couldn't really tell it was the Kage faces. It kind of looked weird.
Right,
and then Frieza's ship showed up. I was like, right. And then they showed Luffy's ship. I'm like, And then Naruto showed up, and Luffy showed up, and then my boy showed up, and I was sitting there like, what the fuck is happening on my screen? And that is all I could say throughout the rest of it.
Yeah, that was a quote. That was an actual quote. What the fuck is happening on my screen? I
couldn't believe it.
I heard it multiple times. Actual quotes.
Yeah, no, I was definitely losing it.
Because you gotta think, for me, like Disney knows I love the Dark Souls games. I love all the Souls games from Soft. I love them. And before Jump Force even showed up, we had a trailer for Sekiro, and I want that so bad too. Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah,
that looks so good. And I had already made the show for me, and when they showed Goku and ARK, I lost.
You know what's crazy?
My mind exploded.
No, I watched as much gameplay as I could, try to see all the characters that they had available. And currently, right now, they only have about 6 people, and that's fine. That's typical. But I kept saying to myself, I think the thing that kept getting me more excited was the combinations of people that could be added to this anime based on what I've been watching lately. Oh man.
And see, the thing that actually sparked this whole topic was the thing that kind of broke my heart, because at the end of it, whenever, of course, I see my boy Light and Reef. Now, granted, I don't watch every anime. I do watch animes. I'm not against it. There's some that I particularly go to. I don't watch a lot of the more popular ones, mainly because there's so many of them that I have to catch up, and I'm so far behind it. Like, and being being a father and everything, I can only dedicate so much time to so many aspects and hobbies that I want to for my time before everything else. So I pick and choose. Like right now, actually, the one that I just started watching was 7 Deadly Sins. Okay, I think. Oh man, the weirdest fucking shit I've ever seen. But I digress. So Death Note is one of my favorite ones of the more modern ones that I've been watching, and I see my boy on there. I'm like, yes, man, I'll get this for this, and it's not my cup of tea, but that's how much I was actually giddy over that. And then, of course, a couple days go by, and actually, we'll have this link down below. An article over at Tick. Yeah, they're not going to be playable, and of course, I was a little bit heartbroken, and I kind of went over to Zero to kind of console my sorrows and everything. And he started talking about, well, the Shonen Jump and this. I'm like, the Shonen what? He goes, the Shonen Jump is. Wait, hold on. What the hell did you say? I told him, no, what, Zero? No. We're going to talk about this on the podcast. You can take us to school. Tell us all about this and what exactly is the Shonen Jump? What does it mean, and what does this do for potential characters coming to the game?
Shonen anime.
But what I'll say is shonen loosely means an age between, as far as manga and anime go, loosely means an age between 15 and 21. That's why most of and those are usually your most popular ones, because they're aimed towards younger males, and males find it cool because they can relate. This is where you got your Gokus back in Dragon Ball, your Narutos. There's some other ones I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I'm talking about, like younger male characters who you can relate to in some way, and those are protagonists. Those are the guys on the cover. They're who you see all the time. And these kinds of games, especially with Bandai making it, usually feature shonen characters more so than other ones, because once you get into the higher age characters, like 22 and up, that goes into a different kind of anime or manga called seinen. I believe that's how you say it. I could say it wrong. I don't know. I can't pronounce Japanese. But it's a different type once it gets up there. And then you have the female equivalent of shonen, which is shoujo. But I don't really see them adding too much of that into this game. It could.
Yeah, no. They'll more than likely stick with the shonen aspect of it. They have the best characters. I want to see, like, if I was making this game, I would have so many anime duos in it, because that's basically what I've seen was they've taken probably the 2 best characters from each top anime and put them in it. You have Frieza and Goku from Dragon Ball. You have Luffy and Zoro from One Piece. You got Sasuke and Naruto from Naruto. And that's the 6 people that's in the game right now. And I just started running numbers. Like, I'm just running numbers. I'm like, I need Gon and Kilowatt in this game ASAP. I need Deku and All Might in this game ASAP, or at least Deku and Bakugo in this game ASAP. I'm like, I need Inuyasha and Sesshomaru in this game ASAP. And there is just a ton of characters that you can really put into this game that would make this thing so phenomenal, because it has all these characters. It's an arena game. It's 3 versus 3. So you always have that combo assist type feel. It looks graphically spectacular. I told my homeboy he can't play this game. And he was like, why? I said, my homeboy has epilepsy. I said, if you see this game, you will have a seizure on the spot. The particle effects of this game.
There's particles everywhere. Yeah,
it is ridiculously out of control. And the supers look fantastic. I mean, Naruto going in full nine tails. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't. It's just so much. It's a lot to take in. I'm really excited. And the fact that it's coming to Xbox, the fact that it happened on the Xbox stage. Phil brought it out. I'm telling you, people want to talk about exclusives and what they didn't show. Microsoft killed it. They killed that conference. The amount of big Japanese studios that showed up with big Japanese games that probably deserved to be on PlayStation stage or was expected to be on PlayStation stage, but ended up on Xbox stage was super impressive. I was just completely flabbergasted. I was hyped. I'm like, Devil May Cry, Tales, and Sekiro, and then you had Jump Force and Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, like forget it. They killed it.
No one expected Kingdom Hearts and Devil May Cry on Microsoft stage. Nobody expected that.
Yeah. They definitely pulled out a fast one. They pulled a fast one over there. And when you go back and you look at the two conferences, and you look at Sony's conference and how they sort of concentrated on their own content, their conference was very short and very small in comparison. That really got filled out with the intermissions and the walking in between and the cheerleaders and all that stuff like that. But man, I'm hyped. Jump Force is like the number 2 game, my most anticipated game for 2019 or whenever it comes out. Anthem being number 1 because I love mechs and sci-fi, so I'm all on Anthem. But man, I'm excited for Jump Force.
See, if I had to choose a couple characters to stick in the Jump Force, I'm cool with the Deku and the All Might. I'm all for that. But I want some of the lesser known anime and manga thrown in there. Like put Train and Creed from Black Cat. Okay. They're not Goku top level characters, but Train can get down and he can whoop some ass.
Right.
Creed could do the same. Stick Soul and Black Star from Soul Eater in there.
Right, Soul Eater. Okay, yeah.
They would fit in there.
Hey, you can have Excalibur as an assist. Fool, pop up in there.
Oh my lord,
that would be excellent.
Yo, I would die.
I would die if that happened. Fool. Yo, you gotta watch. Yo, man, you gotta be. Here's the thing, Dizzy, about anime. Anime is, I tell you, man, these Japanese guys, their storytelling is amazing. When you find the right guy, when you find the right anime, man, the storytelling can be absolutely amazing. It can be gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, and it could be hilarious all at the same time. And Soul Eater has a character in there named Excalibur. And he's supposed to be like this greatest sword, but he could transform into like this small character. And he's the most arrogant bastard in the whole show. It's like he's done so much in history, and he's so badass that he's just beyond arrogant. So he just treats everybody like dirt. Like, it's so funny, bro. It is so, he calls everybody a fool. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. Oh my God, I love it. So
let me describe him to you too. He's little, he's short, he's pasty white. Not even white, just pasty, straight pasty. You don't know what the hell he is. He ain't a dude. He ain't an animal. He's just a shape.
Yeah, he's just
it looks weird as hell. He's got a banana nose. He's got a top hat and a cane. And this man walks around drinking tea. Telling you you're a fool and you're wrong.
I remember the opening scene of that anime when he was just standing there for like 30 seconds, bro. For 30 seconds, didn't say nothing. And a bug walked past his cane and he looked dead at it and was like, fool, for no reason, bro. It was so funny. You have to watch it. It was just hilarious. Like, oh my God, I can't take it. But yeah, no, it would be awesome to have those guys in there. I would like to see Reborn characters in there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
Reborn would be dope as well. There's a lot that could be done with this game I think it has a lot of potential, especially if the combat looks exciting. I'm seeing all the characters exhibit all their moves. From Sasuke's Omoteratsu, which is amazing to me because that thing takes up so much room. It takes up so much space. To his Susanoo, which was pretty dope as well. And then you see Goku dipping all over the place and doing instant transmission and throwing Kamehamehas everywhere. And then you have Frieza even has his disc that comes back, which was pretty dope. His his Destructo Blade disc that he sends out that comes back, I thought was ill too. And then Luffy's got his what was it called? The Bubble Man transformation. So that's pretty dope, man. I just like it, man. It's really exciting. I'm excited for the game. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
I think that probably the biggest oversight that everybody has on this is, I mean, again, you look at that and you're like, this is a CGI trailer. That wasn't. That's wasn't. The craziest part is it looks Pixar quality. Like you're playing a Pixar game at this point. And I mean, the sky's the limit.
You can see the fabric on Naruto's cloak.
What's dope is, did you see the water effects reflecting in the city was insane. Like just fighting in that city with the building, and you just look down and see the like puddles of water on the floor. Like I was just like, bro, the environments in this is just absolutely nuts. This is just nuts.
Cal, did you hear that the game takes place on Earth, and when they were fighting in that city, that was New York.
Yeah, that was New York. That's what I was saying. Like it's New York. So that's just that's definitely funny. Man, I'm excited, man. I can't wait to get my hands on this game just thinking about it. It's definitely exciting. Because I passed on I had Dragon Ball and I wound up getting it refunded because the online wasn't working. So in the process of getting that refunded, I picked up Monster Hunter and I don't regret it. And I haven't picked up Dragon Ball since. So I'm definitely excited about getting my hands on Jump Force.
Hell yeah.
Right on.
You should never regret Monster Hunter anyway. Monster Hunter is a damn good game.
Yeah, Monster Hunter was amazing. I don't know. I think I got to the end game, and then I think I left off at like level 58, and then I just was like, okay, I'm done. I put like 200 hours. Yeah, I was like 200 hours. I looked at my time. I was like 200 hours. Gee, I'm done. I'm not playing this no more. Just stop playing.
Got the achievements you needed.
Yeah.
So I know that you said that was the. So this one is your second, and Anthem's your first. So what would have been, just off the top of your head, what would have been the top 5 games that you had for E3?
Oh, man. No, I actually have this. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick, because I had put out a top 10 a couple days ago, and I got somebody questioned me about why I only put out like a top 10 and then why didn't it add this or why didn't it have that or whatever. And I'm just like, bro, don't question my methods.
Why is your opinion, Cal?
Yeah, I know, right? Like seriously, like, come on, bro. Give me a break, man. Like I'm just out here trying to live my best life. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, it's coming up. Okay, so here's my top 5. My top 5 games of E3 for me and my most anticipated. Number 1 is Anthem. Number 2 is Jump Force. Number 3 is Cyberpunk 2077. Number 4 is Halo Infinite. And then number 5 is Ghost of Tsushima. Now, my last 5, just to throw it in there, was number 6 was Gears 5. Number 7 was Beyond Good and Evil 2. Number 8 was Fallout 76. Number 9 is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. And number 10 was Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Well, the only thing I could probably agree with that individual that said that your opinion was awful is because, I mean, it is all trash because Resident Evil 2 is not number 1 on that list.
I don't play Resident Evil, bro. You already know I don't play horror games, so I don't even know why people try to do that. The thing that was funny was he was like, it's trash because I didn't have Halo and Gears 5. I didn't have a Halo or Gears game on there. I said, are you blind?
Oh, man.
Are you completely blind? I know Halo doesn't have a number on it, bro, but just read again like it's there. Like, come on.
What about you, Zero? What did you have as your top 5? I know I didn't get to ask you this either.
Off the top of my head, number 1 is definitely Jump Force. No questions asked. Sekiro, because From Soft could release anything, and I would buy it. So 2 is Sekiro, and then Ori is number 3 for me because the first game was just so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that game. I got the remaster. Oh, it's so good. 4 for me would probably have to be Halo, just because I've been in love with Halo since Halo came out. That's what got me on the Xbox in the first place.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it would kind of be a battle between Gears and Anthem for me.
Oh wow, no Cyberpunk? Cyberpunk looks incredible.
I love here's the thing. I love the work that CD Projekt Red does, but Witcher scared me off because there's just too much shit, and I ain't got the time.
Here's the thing with Cyberpunk, from my understanding. Cyberpunk is a class game where you can pick your job, which is basically what your class would be. You can be a cop, you could be a bouncer, you could be media, and everything takes place in first person, not third person. The world is large enough where you can drive around like Grand Theft Auto, but the aspect is first person for the detail and the way you approach things, and your job determines your story and how you approach things. So just thinking about the way that would be played out graphically, and then because they say that the first person aspect gives you a lot of interaction with the and immersiveness with the game, so it's really important. That's why they want to stick with the first person aspect. I could imagine being a reporter and going on an assignment and then having your camera and trying to get information out of people, and that's a part of your story as you get to a bigger plot that's happening in the game. And I think that's what they want to do. That's why you have all of these different ways to approach the game based on your class, and your job allows you to access information differently per class, and I thought that's pretty dope.
Right, not fair enough.
Yeah.
What I will say about Cyberpunk is that trailer that they showed. I'm the kind of like visually, I like games that are striking and colorful and different. And if the game looks like what they showed, I mean, the game looked beautiful. I liked how like punky it was, and the use of color and how vibrant it is. I like that.
Yeah.
That was just great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for this game. It's definitely that's why I had to get it in my top 5. Like, this game is too good. Beyond Good and Evil looks amazing as well.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see, how the engine they have that running and everything. Because the trailer that they showed, I think that it definitely took the breath out of the room when anybody who knows the game and everything, whenever you see Jade step out, and it looks like that she looks really pissed off at this point and everything. Like, I mean, that takes the breath out of the room if you've ever played the first one. So it'd be nice to see exactly how their engine's looking. The only thing that's making me concerned about the game, and I know that King David actually had expressed this kind of on the Iron Lords podcast the other day, was we have the CGI trailer, and they are having other individuals that they have this set up with I think it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt in his company, Space Monkey something, and you submit content and everything, which is a cool concept, right? Where you're submitting content to the game to help build the world and everything, and I like that concept. But at the same time, you don't have enough out right now to really warrant you to kind of like start pushing this. Because to me, that's like after that side content, that side things. Like, don't take the fanship and put that in there to build the world, because the world should already be built. I think that's the only reservation I have. I agree with you 100% from what I saw. It looks like that it potentially could be fun. But because of that, because I don't have any. This is the second year in a row we've heard about Beyond Good and Evil. It's the only reason why it's not in my top 5. It definitely is in my top 10. I think that, of course, mine does start off. Resident Evil 2 came out. I've been waiting. I love the Resident Evil series, going all the way up to 3. I skip all the rest of them except for 0. Those are the only 4 Resident Evil games that I really recognize as Resident Evil games.
You never played 4?
No. Hear me out. I skip all of the other ones as being part of Resident Evil. Hear me out about 4. Here's the thing that 4 is a yin and yang with the series. It did a lot of good for Resident Evil, but it also did a lot of bad. And the reason why I say that it did a lot of good, changing the aspect, the darkness, and the way that the cameras was, because like, I mean, the biggest complaint was the camera angles, but it also, the reason the camera angles are the way that they are in the game is because that's how they kind of forced you to be scared. You know, you don't know if you come around this corner, what's going to be lurking around that corner, based off of the way that they have the camera looking at you. And it made, you know, in the end, it aggravated people because of the controls, right? So it did a lot of good, but it also, because the way that they took the disease with the Umbrella Corp and what it actually was doing is, you know, the biochemical weapon, and they changed your enemy type, which sometimes change could be good, but this is one of the times where I believe that the change was bad, because to me, it went down the Hollywood route. And that's how we had 5 and 6. And while they could be great games as far as the series, it doesn't have a really good connection whenever you compare it with the first 3 games, which you can draw the line of connection. I leave 0 out because 0 actually had a lot of connections that put you between Day 0 and Resident Evil 1. So... because there's a lot of things that kind of intertwine between 4 and 3, there's not a lot that you can connect the dots with aside from what they're telling you that Umbrella is doing now. And the same goes from 4 to 5, 5 to 6. You know, they're just things that are happening in the world. It's exactly how the movies are. There's not a lot of correlation. There's just a bunch of people doing it in the world, and they're attacking Umbrella Corp. You know,
right.
So that's why I'm really excited that they are bringing back Resident Evil. The way that the Resident Evil 2, the way that they are doing it, I mean, this isn't just a upscaled version of it. This is a completely, we built this from the ground up. We also changed a bit of the story so that it can help mold what we're going to be doing down the line. And very likely they're probably going to do the same thing for Resident Evil 3. So that's why, you know, for me, such a Resident Evil 2 fanboy, that's why it's, you know, number 1 on my list. I get 100%. We can't get Cal to play Alien Isolation for the life of us, but I only play half the game myself anyway. So, yeah, so I'd say with mine definitely was Resident Evil 2, Fallout 76, and Vigor. Those are my top 3. And then, of course, Halo, because I want to know what they're doing with it. If this is going to be truly what they're saying, like possibly an open world ring that we're going to be on, that's brilliant. Love it. My only reservation is, where does this fall in the timeline? How soon after? And is Cortana still a crazy bitch at this point? You know,
she went rampant, man.
And I'd say, I think that what rounds it out is probably Ghost of Tsushima, which is ironic. I don't own a PlayStation 4, but that game looks amazing. That I'd buy a PlayStation just for that game.
Right.
Fair enough. What I will say is the only reason I don't have Resident Evil 2 on my list is because, for me personally, I don't like putting remakes or remasters up on that kind of a pedestal. I'm going to get it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to enjoy it. But when I think of top 5 for me personally, I can't bring myself to do that. I don't know why.
You know, and for the most part, I do agree with, you know, whenever we see these remakes and the HD upgrades and everything, but for the most part, the only reason why I'm making this an exception is, again, this is one of the very few times that you actually see a remake where they built it from the ground up. This isn't just a shiny new coat that goes over top of it to make it look pretty, maybe run a little bit faster, so on and so forth. You know, kind of like essentially what they did with like the Master Chief Collection, with you know, Halo 1 and Halo 2, you know, over time, and, you know, other things. You know, of course, Halo's not the only game that does this. Most of them do that, you know. Hey, it's an HD remake. No, it really isn't. This is the only reason why I put this in there and I give it the pass on this is, again, they built this from the ground up. It's not, you know, essentially what Square Enix is doing with Final Fantasy VII. Mind you, they're not putting it into series where you buy part 1, part 2, and part 3. Thank God. So, yeah.
I wanted to get y'all's opinion on that, though. What do y'all think's going on with the games that weren't there? Games like Final Fantasy VII or Mortal Kombat, which was heavily rumored to be there somewhere.
None of them are
ready. Or
ready.
the Avengers game, right?
None of them are ready, and they probably would all look like Scalebound if they got shown off. jaggedy,
Lord.
crazy as hell.
Mhm.
You know, frame rate's not ready. They just, the game's just not ready to be shown off at the end of the day. And some of them are just probably waiting for the proper presentation and the proper reel to put together so they can show off the best of the game.
Yeah,
I
I
really
have
hope
to
so.
agree. I also think that a little bit does have to do with. I think these developers, they are very well aware that this is going to be closing in on the life cycle of this generation.
Mhm.
I think that a lot of them, what they're wanting to do is they want to jump in with a heavy splash into the next generation. Especially the way that Microsoft is handling your connectivity of bringing your library over, and potentially if PlayStation does the same thing, if the PS5 you bring over your library from PS4. I mean, if that's the case, that's the only thing I could think of is because if you can make that splash right there and get that double dip, I mean, what better way to do that? Because you know that there's gonna if regardless of that, there's still going to be that same individual who will buy the end of the life cycle version and the beginning of the life cycle version. You know, once
That's
that
what happened
happens,
with,
not realizing.
that happened to me with Grand Theft Auto. I bought Grand Theft Auto and played it on 360 and beat it because they said they weren't going to make one for next gen, and sure enough, they made one for next gen. I was so mad. I will never believe Rockstar on anything ever again.
But you know,
I
and
don't
here's
blame you.
what's crazy about that is that the average person who had purchased Grand Theft Auto 5, do you know what the average person, how many times they purchased Grand Theft Auto 5?
Well,
4.
four
I
times?
saw the statistic. I wish I could find the statistic again. 2.3.
Mm.
God damn.
Where the hell are you buying this third copy of Grand Theft Auto 5 at? That's where I want to know. Like, you've already bought it, you know, once per generation. Where the hell is this other one? Like, I guess maybe some of them are picking up on the PC. I don't know.
To
But
to be fair, I bought one on 360, bought one on the Xbox One, and got one for a friend on the Xbox One.
okay, so you've contributed to this 2.3.
I'm the problem. It's me.
It could be 360 to Xbox One, and then the Xbox One was trash, so they jumped to PS4 and picked it up. to PS4.
Yeah,
That's possible.
we can see that. Yeah, because people still to this day, and it's still in the top 10 of selling since 2013, which is still mind blowing.
That's just
we'll see. We'll see if that keeps up after Red Dead Redemption 2 drops. We'll see. But not to keep everybody up and everything, so we're going to be wrapping it up and everything. I do want to, Cal, do you have any projects that are coming up? Anything that you want to talk about that you have coming up anytime soon?
Currently we just have Tick Podcast coming up Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. You guys can check out the premiere podcast for Xbox, as well as the tickgamesnetwork.com. That is our home site, and we do a lot of great coverage over there. As far as projects is concerned, I'm thinking about doing a giveaway. I haven't figured out what giveaway I want to do just yet, but I'm looking at doing a giveaway soon for the people out there who support Tick. And how I do that, I'll let guys know sometime in the future. So you can follow me on TIC_podcast on Twitter. That's TIC_podcast, and get information for that pretty soon.
Absolutely. And of course, we have other things that we'll be announcing down the line. Just kind of throwing that hint out there for everybody. But once we have more things that are a little bit more clear, we'll start announcing that here in the future and everything, which is a brilliant thing coming up, an awesome thing. What about you, Zero? What do you have going on?
Nothing.
Just evolution.
I'm not really doing much.
he's John Hammonding it right now.
I know. I've pretty much just been working. I mean, to be straight up, just work. But I mean, yeah, anybody can catch up with me at Lord Zero on Twitter. I'm always on there now since I'm back doing, what I do. I aim to be back on here every week now, since I got my stuff working, and I'm home.
Right.
But I've just been chilling.
I had to put some feelers out. So if guys out there listen, if you're interested, I'm out actually recruiting for the site, trying to find a person to review movies. A movie reviewer is what I'm looking for. Somebody dedicated to watching films on Netflix and Hulu, and would like to do movie reviews for the site. I'm looking for a guy out there. So if you're interested, make sure you hit me up with a DM or a message on the Tick Podcast Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely do that. And we're going to make sure that that is listed down here in the description down below. And you're going to see that quite often going on in the future and everything. Of course, here you'll be able to catch us again every Tuesday night. We used to do after hours, but there's a lot of changes that we have coming up. And again, as more things become a little bit more clear, we'll start announcing all of that so everybody's up to date. Of course, you can follow us on our Discord, join the conversation with us. I know that Tick also, you have your Discord as well. So make sure that you do pop into both of those. Join the conversations with us. We love talking games and everything. You can find me at Twitter at idizzy81. If I jump into your ARK server, you're probably going to die.
You know what I have been doing, Dizzy? I've been feeding Park Guest my T-Rex on Evolution. That's what I've been doing.
So he
gotta eat.
Been losing ticket sales.
Well, at first, and then you put them back in the pen, and then you get the ticket sales back, and then you feed them.
All you need is enough CNN coverage at your theme park, and I am not spending money to have my kid.
Legit though, the other day, I got bored for whatever reason. So on Evolution, on Jurassic World Evolution, what I did is I set free the Spinosaurus, the T-Rex, and Indominus, and I just let them go. And I let it happen until one of them was living.
Survival of the fittest, man. Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch.
Absolutely. But we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. We thank y'all once again for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next Tuesday. Later.
Bye.